I want to that's.
Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of June 20th, 2024. Please come to order. Happy summer, everyone. And Erin, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to make sure everybody in the audience, Bob, you can hear okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. We have two public hearings scheduled for this evening, so I want to take a few minutes to review the process for public hearings and the current hybrid format of our meetings. During the public hearing, I insist that we treat each other respectfully, do not interrupt, and follow the required structure of the meeting. Everyone will be given a fair opportunity to hear, review, submit, and comment on the testimony and evidence the commission will use to render a decision. All speakers should be recognized by the chair before being allowed to speak. As a reminder, we on the commission are here to listen and ask questions of the applicant. We should refrain from conversations with attendees. And I ask that all cell phones be silenced during the meeting. The steps for conducting a public hearing are as follows. Step 1, the applicant will be invited to present the application, explaining to the commission and others present what is being requested. The applicant or staff will share all application materials on the screen as needed. Comments or town agencies will be read for each application if there are any. Step 2, commissioners will ask clarifying questions. Before speaking, each commissioner will be recognized by the chair. Step 3, attendees will have an opportunity for clarifying questions and comments. Anyone who wishes to speak must raise their hand and be recognized by the chair before they speak. For Zoom attendees, please raise your hand through the Zoom platform and wait to be called on and unmuted. According to Connecticut land use law, cross-examination of persons testifying is allowed, but cross-examination of commissioners is not. As this public hearing must be recorded, attendees will state their names and addresses before asking their questions or making statements. The applicant will have an opportunity to address any questions or concerns raised by the public or commissioners and must be given the opportunity to speak again without interruption. Once the public hearing is closed, the applicant is free to leave or remain for the balance of the regular meeting, during which the commission will try to reach a decision on each application. Each applicant will be notified in writing as to the decision of this commission and has a right to appeal to Superior Court if desired. Decisions of this meeting are available the day after the meeting by calling the Land Use Department at 203-245-5631 after 9 a.m. All actions taken tonight by the commission will be by roll call. All commissioners and staff will identify themselves for the record before speaking. Seated this evening are members Mike Bugda, Jeff Downs, John Duza, and myself, Chair Carol Snow. And on Zoom, we have Bob O'Connor joining us. Staff present this evening is Erin Mannix, the town planner. This meeting is live streamed on YouTube and will be made available on the town website for viewing. And the town planner will now read the legal notice.
Notice is hereby given that the Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on Thursday, June 20th, 2024, beginning at 6 p.m. The following applications. Application number 24-17, petition for regulation text amendment, applicant Kelly and Kingsley Goddard. Petition to amend section 3.11D4 of the Madison zoning regulations, special use regulations for farms in a residential district. Applicants may appear and be heard and submit written testimony to the Planning and Zoning Commission. In doing so, you can submit those via email at landuse@MadisonTV.org. Notice of this hearing was given in the source on Thursday, June 6th, and 2024, and Thursday, June 13th, 2024.
Thank you, Erin. We appreciate everyone coming to this new venue, and we hope it works without any major glitches. So with that, I think we'll get started on the public hearings. First on the agenda is 24-10, 6 Opening Hill Road, which is not going to be heard this evening because the applicant requested a continuance. We hope to hear perhaps even at a special meeting in July, which will be posted appropriately. So next on our agenda is the continuation of public hearing from June 6, 2024 at 24-15, 251 Boston Post Road, map 35, lot 53, zone PDD. Owner My Four Boys LLC, applicant Thomas A. Stevens and Associates. It's a petition for zone boundary change plan development district per section 32, modification of master plan to convert a club into a restaurant with residential unit above with associated site improvements. If the applicant like to come to the podium. Yeah.
Jeffrey Beatty for the applicant, 20 Water Street, Guilford, Connecticut. We're here this evening following the June 6th meeting in front of the commission, and I'd like to update you on the progress that's happened in the interim. So, following our meeting, we reached out to the Department of Transportation to explore the possibility.
You speak louder, please.
Sure. Following the June 6th meeting, we reached out to the department, this loud now? Thank you. Okay. To the Department of Transportation to explore the possibility of getting egress onto the Boston Post Road from the existing driveway that served the Winter Club for many years. As you may recall, the DOT had indicated that they would not allow egress, just ingress from the Boston Post Road to the Winter Club site as following this commission's adoption of the PVD in the site. We reached out with them. We came up with a proposal that they had indicated would be acceptable to them, which was that traffic could come into the property and passenger vehicles could exit the property onto the post road, but commercial trucks would need to exit the property onto Stonewall Lane. My client advises that there are perhaps 10 deliveries with commercial vehicles throughout the course of a week. All of them would occur between 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. And the hope was that with that limited number of vehicles coming out onto Stonewall Lane, that would address some of the concerns that were raised at the prior meeting with regard to the impact on the neighborhood in Stonewall Lane. And that all the diners would be encouraged to travel out onto the Boston Post Road when leaving the restaurant. That was our hope. And the initial response from the Department of Transportation was that that would be a creative way to solve the problem, because they indicated that that would be acceptable until about 2:30 this afternoon, when they called us back and said that was no longer an option. So, what they did say, so they said, we want all traffic to exit the property from Stonewall Lane, the driveway on the Stonewall. They did indicate that if we could provide them with DEP approval to conduct activity within the Neck River area to improve the sightline, meaning remove brush and trees to improve the sightline looking to the east, that they would revisit this, but they wouldn't say that that would be an acceptable, they still didn't indicate that it would be an acceptable alternative to what they would allow. We sent to them later this afternoon the DEP's report that was submitted to this commission at the time that we were applying for the PDD approval, which indicated that they were agreeable, that the DEP was agreeable to removal of brush and trees within the Neck River to improve the sightline. In the wetlands approval we got at the time we were applying for the PDD also would allow us to remove those things to improve the sightline on the post road. We sent that to them later this afternoon. We haven't received a response from them yet, but even if we did receive a response from them, we don't know that they received it. We don't know what their position would be using the driveway, the existing driveway, as an exit solely for passenger vehicles. So we're here tonight going back to the proposal that we made at the last meeting, where we would have a hard left turn exit from this driveway that enters onto Stonewall Lane. We are agreeing to put up what barriers we can to minimize the impact on the residents directly across the street from the driveway via screening or vegetative barriers, something that would look nice, to the extent that we can do that and not obstruct the view to the north on Stonewall Lane from cars that are leaving. So we're trying to strike a balance that serves the functionality that we're now limited to by the response that we got from the DOT this afternoon, but minimizes, to the extent we can minimize it, to the neighborhood off of Stonewall Lane. This is not our first choice. We would prefer to continue to use the driveway that has been used by members of the Winter Club for many, many years. And we're going to continue to pursue that option with the DOT and the DEP, given the information that we've already received from DEP and the Inland Wetlands Commission. We don't have that information tonight, so what we're requesting is that this commission grant, when we don't know when we're going to get it, because the DOT may not act on it at all, or may say, no, we still don't like that alternative. So what we're requesting this evening is that this commission approve the proposal that we've made for the left turn onto Stonewall Lane, with screening and vegetative buffers to minimize the impact on the Stonewall neighborhood and the residents across the street. Just so commission and the public are aware, I reached out to an engineer who's working with the neighbors across the street on Tuesday to let him, he had reached out to me and I told him what progress I believed we had made. When we got the feedback from the DOT this afternoon, I immediately called him to let him know that the DOT had changed course in terms of what had been proposed. So we have done our best to try and make the neighborhood aware of the progress that we've been making, particularly the house that's going to be most directly impacted by what we're proposing. And we remain committed to doing what we can to minimize that impact. But right now, that's the only alternative that's been made available to us with regard to traffic coming out of, all the traffic in the world can come into the property. It's getting them out of the property that's the problem. And it's not for a lack of effort on our part or a casual approach to this to say, oh, we'll just send them out on Stonewall Lane. We've made phone calls. Mr. Mandel can speak to the conversations that he's had. He's received calls from 4 or 5 different people at DOT saying, what's going on? What can we do at various levels of the chain of command? We have tried to work with them to get this, and we thought we had come up with a resolution that was going to work from our perspective and from the neighbor's perspective as recently as 2 o'clock this afternoon. But that's where we are right now. So we're asking for this, that the commission approve the amendment with our representation that we're going to continue to the extent that we can, to pursue the access onto the Boston Post Road. The problem is we can't really move the driveway. We move it to the east. It's closer to the Neck River, which is not an optimal solution. If we move it to the west, it's closer to the intersection with Stonewall Lane, which is not an optimal solution. So we're kind of limited in terms of what we can do with the existing driveway. And so we've tried to be as creative as we can to come up with a solution that works from our perspective, works from the neighbor's perspective, and works from the DOT's perspective. And we thought we had threaded that needle until a few hours ago. So that's where we are. The other component of our request is the DOT has asked for the town's blessing for the removal of the trees to the west of the driveway as you're looking towards Stonewall. And there's some oak trees that are there. They want the town to say it's okay for within the trees within the state's right of way to remove those trees to improve the sightline.
To the west of the driveway or to the east?
East.
To the east, I'm sorry.
So
Sorry, I said west. To the east.
There's 2 or 3 of them.
Right. We would be happy to remove them, but because they're in the state right away, the state says we need the town to say it's okay. The first selectman has said, well, let's see what the Planning and Zoning Commission says. If you say you're okay with the removal of the trees, my understanding is that she will then say, we're fine with that. The DOT will say, go ahead, take down those trees. So you're the cog that turns the key that turns those steps to improve the sight line as you look to the east on the post road.
But even if we did approve that, there's no guarantee that the DOT will approve it anyway.
Correct. But we're, as I said, we're trying to do everything we can on our end to make it as safe as possible to increase the likelihood that the DOT will give us the permission to have traffic exit out of the site.
Another question I have. What, did you say that you have done something to mitigate the neighbors to the north side of the property as well?
We were gonna put screening in as you approach the driveway out. There is vegetation there now that will come in, and from our perspective, what we're proposing doesn't really change the circulation issues that one of the neighbors have raised. With regard to headlights. Right, with regard to what was gonna exist, even if we could exit out on the post road, there's gonna be cars coming in and circulating throughout the parking area to get in and out. But, you know, we'll do what we can to minimize the impact. We want to be trying to be good neighbors.
Can we see the site plan again? That
Sure. Yeah, Chair, I'm not out here.
which,
I have a paper copy.
My question,
Let's see, it's dated 6/18/24 is the newest rendition. Certainly should.
it's not 6/19?
Well, let's see what the 6/19 was. Could be. So Chuck Mandel, agent for the applicant, also, a very convoluted, story here. And I'm not gonna plow the same field Jeff did. I can update you on other, things that we talked about at the last meeting. One was, someone wanted a letter from DOT saying that they will not grant it without, permission, without the easement. So DOT did not come out and say they won't allow us. They said we had to acquire the correct sightlines. And I did submit that as an exhibit, earlier on.
That's fine.
I did reach out to the adjoining property to the east. And I did have another exhibit here. They refused to grant any cutting on their property. And here's the original. I'll submit that. The other item was, then I spoke to Tracy May about getting this taken care of. What are we gonna do? She referred me to another transportation expert. I'm gonna butcher his name, Rajit Mahat, I believe his name is, so I could get the correct spelling later on. I had a quite lengthy discussion with him on Monday, and that's when we discussed taking the single unit 30-foot vehicles exiting from Stonewall Lane. He thought that was a great solution. He said we had the sightline issues to deal with still, but he asked about the 85th percentile on traffic. So we had SLR do a traffic study for us. So this posted speed limit is 40 miles per hour. The actual speed that people go varies between 42 and 43 miles per hour. And that's all in the traffic study that we had done. We eliminated our original sight line was for SU 30 vehicles exiting from the site. So these are big lumberous machines and they try to get out, they can't get out of their own way getting onto the post road. So the sight line is significantly different for passenger vehicles. So it's 438, I forget what exactly the number was, but we were able to get that sight line completely within the state right of way. We also had wetlands permission for the original sight line, which was a lot more cutting. I do have the CAM application, which is already on file, but I have another copy from it, and I can read you a brief. We didn't try to bamboozle anyone. We weren't hiding anything. Everything was up front, and they actually addressed this. They said other specific activities include septic, widening the entrance, tree removal for improved site within the state's right of way. So that was called out from the DEP. So the DOT was not aware that we had CAM approval, but at the time I didn't realize we had come up with it. So I sent that to him today at about 3:30 this afternoon. I sent that to DOT. You have that already, folks. Send me another one. And so here we are. After the last meeting, so like I said, we addressed, I did have the email from DOT and Tracy saying if we could get the sight lines, we're not saying you can't use it, but you need the easements. Well, now we don't need an easement if we use passenger vehicles based on Rajat's comments. After the meeting also, the owner who's here with me tonight met with several of the adjoining property owners and discussed putting trees down, so evergreens. We don't have a landscape plan. We didn't do anything specific, but he agreed to plant where they wanted. We would look at the screening and see where they needed to be planted. I don't know the conversation that Jeff had with the other adjoining property owner, but we're also willing to put screening, evergreen screening, arborvitae, whatever is appropriate. We can consult with someone else, but we're kind of in a trap. So I feel that based on the DEP letter and Rajac's original comments about using SU vehicles exiting Stonewall Lane, I believe that we will get approvals for the passenger vehicles, but if not, we need to get off the site somehow. And there was one other comment that one of the commissioners made, was had we talked to the town engineer about this? Because I didn't see any need for a second traffic study, which isn't going to show us anything. We know Stonewall Lane is not the greatest place to leave from. We all know that. The town engineer, his first comment was, it's not his jurisdiction. And I don't have any written testimony, but that's what he said. He told me in the field. And then the second one was he wasn't going to write a letter saying this is safe. And that was it. And Erin, did you talk to him at all? John
Yes,
Pianopoulos?
I'll let you.
Oh,
finish
okay,
it,
well,
and
and that was,
I'll-
and that was the
I can
last
share.
conversation I had with him. So I didn't see anything in writing. I didn't hear anything back from him. But it was a very short window that we were working in. So, and then here we are tonight, we really have pretty much trapped to where we are. That's it.
Thanks.
Just one question. Was there any comment about making a left turn the way it is from the town of Madison?
No, he didn't, I don't think Pianopoulos had a problem with that at all. A left turn, actually, he thought that was a good idea.
I mean, it was used by the club for years.
Correct, and it's gonna be a 27-degree angle, whatever it is. So if you wanna ruin your tires, you could probably hop the curb. We could make it as more dramatic, we put landscaping there, but we wouldn't want to put landscaping in the right. We would just make it very uncomfortable for someone to make. And there would be proper signage on, so that was another comment that Rashid from DOT had made, make sure there's plenty of signage for trucks not leaving. Yeah. That's it.
Erin, did you want to add
Sure, I can.
some information?
I'm just off screen, but I'll identify myself for the record, Erin Mannix, town planner. To recap, yes, from our last meeting, I know Carol, you weren't here, but I do in conversation with you,
I read the
understand that
minutes.
you've
Yep.
reviewed where we are. Questions were raised, one, to provide evidence of DOT comments regarding the driveway, which, as you indicated, you did, along with the neighbor's letter rejecting an easement. The screening to the north that you brought up, Mike Bugda, and there was question about whether or not there was a need to bring this revised proposal back to the traffic consultant to provide any feedback to the commission in making this decision to now divert all egress from the common driveway off to Stonewall Lane. Because we received that plan late in the day on our last meeting, we had not been able to have feedback from the engineering department. I did talk to Johnny Nacco today, who is our town engineer. He indicated that he did meet you out on the field, Chuck, with Fraser, and kind of went through what the history and was brought up to speed on that. I updated him now of the newest
Right, I
news
didn't
that
have time
we
to
received
talk,
today.
yeah.
Indicating that the state is not going to allow passenger vehicles to egress. And so if you're looking to have all traffic exit on Stonewall Lane, the question that the town is raising is what is the safer option with regards to sightlines on the Boston Post Road? Is it more appropriate to divert all traffic to Stonewall Lane, which is further west and may or may not have worse sightlines than the existing driveway in the center of Boston Post Road? And our thought was that it would be a useful exercise to have your traffic consultant look at that and between those two options with respect to sightlines and which provides the better sightline. And then being able to have both the town and the applicant and the state engage in conversations of really what is the best option here for the safest egress from the site with that driveway. Because in his thought, and I think he said this out in the field, was that it was hard to see that Stonewall was a better sight line than that center driveway. But the town has not engaged in these discussions with the state for their reasonings. And we don't have that even analysis from your traffic engineer that you provided with your initial master plan. So that was John's recommendation, so that we can still explore what options there are for the center driveway, and to hear directly what is the potential for impact at that intersection that currently, is a two dead-end street that serves about 15 homes versus that and the commercial use. And so the thought is that you're back here because this is a significant enough change to the master plan. Initially, the point was to direct all commercial traffic associated with the use to the commercial corridor. And so now that that's a change, I think it is relevant to have that feedback from your traffic consultant. And John seemed to agree with that. So that's not ruling it out, but needing some more information and perhaps being able to have further discussions with the state and see what else could be or do, in looking at that existing driveway.
I get all that. I really do. I understand. My client spent thousands and thousands of dollars. Another traffic study, like we discussed last time. If DOT is gonna dig their heels in and say Stonewall Lane was a town road, that's in use. They have no jurisdiction over it. Another traffic study, sure, they could come up with, and if they do say that the middle entrance, we'll call it the middle entrance, is the safer alternative, which I believe it is, actually. I think Stonewall Lane is not a great decision.
Well,
But that's why I believe that we should be able to get this other entrance, and we can certainly pursue that. But I think to get move on with our lives, and some of the neighbors have agreed already to put additional screening on there. We're gonna pursue using the middle entrance with DOT. We have CAM approval now. We have DEP approval. The neighbors are not granting us other approval. We do have an SLR traffic study stating the 85th percentile. We know what the safe traffic sightline is. And let's say SLR comes out with Stonewall Lane. Let's say it's not as safe. They're not going to make off-site improvements. It's not going to start straightening out Route 1 in that particular area. So I get what you're saying, and to cover, your bases, but I don't think a second traffic study is going to do anything except just delay these proceedings. And he's gonna spend another $1,000 to say Stonewall Lane is not a good alternative. And yes, maybe DOT, maybe I can get a supplemental report from SLR to go to DOT with. I can maybe have a conversation with that. But based on that, I think this commission has my client is actually trapped now. If DOT denies it, they're gonna deny it, then it ends up in the courts. I don't really understand. So I don't see the purpose of a second traffic study, but obviously it's up to the commission. If they want to get into us another traffic study, delay it another month, that's fine. We're here, at your beck and call, whatever hoop you need us to jump through. We just want to get this thing moving.
We wish we could approve it.
Oh, I know.
Or we wish we could have approved it months ago. But I do worry about the safety, and I have gone by and looked at the Stonewall Lane intersection there, and there's a stone wall and elevated.
It's all in the state right away.
I know, and that's all the
I-
state, and we don't want the state. to
Well, that's
say
what I'm
that
saying.
has
If
to
they
be
say,
removed.
if they want to remove the stone wall, then what do we do?
No, we don't.
Exactly.
But I think there are some safety issues, and I do think that the existing driveway for the club is the safest.
I agree.
We're not disagreeing.
And
I
also,
agree
I,
100%.
I'm not wild about taking down all the vegetation around the Neck River, except the invasive species maybe, but when they suggested taking down more trees, I have trouble with that too. Any other commissioner
so-
questions?
Is that you're suggesting that the DOT approval may be contingent upon removing 2 trees, but that's not conclusive, correct?
No, what I'm saying is the sight line that we're proposing is completely within the town right of way.
Yes.
So if we use that for access and egress to the site, we would have to do the clearing. So those 2 trees, the 2 maple trees would have to go. And there are a couple of trees that are identified on this newest plan
Yeah.
that have to be removed out of the Neck River. Based on what Jeff had said earlier about the first select person giving permission. So, anything, there's a vegetation manual, anything over 18 inches within the state right of way has to have a letter from the first select person saying they're okay with that. DOT, as far as DOT is concerned, you can take everything.
Yeah,
But if it's over 18 inches, the first select person has to agree to that. Now, this is, I haven't heard this firsthand, but secondhand, I heard that, first select woman is gonna defer the planning and zoning commission as to whether they will write that letter to remove additional vegetation. That's
Or in the alternative, to say that you're comfortable with the trees being removed to improve the sightline, and then she will be more comfortable sending a letter to the DOT to say it's okay that these can be.
Right, but.
but we're not even there yet, really.
Right, not there yet, and even if you did remove the 2 trees to improve the sightline, that's not a guarantee.
Oh, we wouldn't remove them unless we had approvals.
Right,
And we don't have approval for the property on the other side.
Well, no, we won't get approval for that.
Yeah.
But we don't need it now based on the 85th percentile for passenger cars. Only for trucks, which we want to exit from Stonewall. But trucks would be the only exit.
and
That's
those,
what we're pursuing.
and those would be limited to 8 in the morning to noon.
Yeah, the compromise seemed to be a good one.
And,
We thought so too.
and that's why I believe,
But then,
well, they had a team meeting at DOT this afternoon. This is what I heard. I was out in the field. So after their team meeting, their biggest concern was DEP approval. Well, we have DEP approval. They were not aware of it at the time. I sent it to them at 3:30 today, and I did not get a response back. So I do believe we will be getting DOT approval, because that is the only thing that makes sense. And if I could get a supplement for SLR without a full-blown traffic study,
yeah,
I would certainly.
that would
do
be helpful.
Yeah.
And it is the safety issues. And when you drive, I mean, you can just drive down the post road and see Stonewall is not ideal for egress.
Just not to pat ourselves on the back, but our original plan was
Right.
not to use stonewalling at all.
Right, that's what we observed.
And that was because we believe that that's the best way in and out of the site as well. The reason we're here is not because we're in a dispute with the neighbors, or we think it's more economically efficient to use it. The only reason we're here is because the state has told us you can't do it. And now we've tried a number of variations to try and get that approval and not negatively impact the neighbors. And we thought we had it worked out, and now we don't. And so,
But we may.
right. And we're committed to going forward, because that is what we think is the best outcome for everyone, for us, for the neighbors, and for the people coming in and using the restaurant. So we're gonna continue to do it, but we can't represent you that we've got it done here, because we haven't.
Any other questions from commissioners?
Talk to the neighbor in the pink house who's most affected by the exit onto Stonewall.
I haven't spoken with her directly. She's the one who has an engineer who I've worked with on another project who contacted me on Monday to get an update as to what was going on. I explained to him what progress we had made on Tuesday and thought that we had reached this resolution. When I found out this afternoon that the resolution that we had wasn't going to go forward, I immediately called him, and he assured me that he would reach out to the neighbor to let her know, or them know, what was going on. So we've tried to keep the property owner that's gonna be most directly impacted by what we're proposing in the loop as to what's been going on.
Okay, great. And the only time we potentially will see headlights, middle of the winter when it's super dark and maybe there's a leak. That's the only time headlights will be seen. Most of the traffic is what, between 8 and 12, and that's 10 vehicles. It's laundry, alcohol, garbage, and food. Those are the only 4 deliveries.
And that's 10 deliveries.
So you think the pre-230 deal is still possible? And the issue then is whether we approve cutting down 2 mature trees to make it more possible? Is that what this boils down to?
Well, no, what ideally from our perspective, and I'm not trying to make you do, or encourage you to do something that you're not comfortable doing. But ideally, we would like to get the amendment with the left turn approved, with the understanding that we are going to continue to pursue the access on the post road from the DOT. And as part of that, we would need this commission's blessing to remove those trees to improve the sight line so that we would,
For the other option.
it would bolster our ability to get the approval from the DOT. But part of the problem is that we're working off of information that we just received 4 hours ago.
Right.
So the question is, if we get permission for access and egress, those trees have to go. That's the only way we can get the sight line.
Wait a minute, that wasn't clear.
Oh, okay, that's why I'm explaining it. If we get permission for access and egress for the main entrance, center entrance, we'll
It
call
would
it,
only be if the trees were removed.
the trees have to go along with some vegetation.
What you said before was that it would improve the sight line, but it was no guarantee.
That's right.
We don't know that the DOT is going to agree to the access and egress from the post road entrance. We're trying to make it as palatable.
Right, so you're pursuing two options at the simultaneous.
Right.
My understanding is you're looking for approval tonight on the left turn.
For all,
And then the other part is that DOT didn't have the information when they all met about DEP.
correct.
And the second was, if, in order to approve, it's gonna be contingent on you having permission to remove the trees.
Correct, absolutely.
Make sense?
It's only a convoluted.
Makes sense.
I'm not comfortable with that.
Do we have any other questions? And if not, I'm gonna turn it over to public questioning. For now, are we okay?
I just have the obvious questions, exactly how do those two trees compare to the sightline? I mean, they're mature trees.
Yeah, and the canopy is.
If you look at the sight line plan, that's the site. So it's you at eye height's 3.5 feet, X amount of feet back from the pavement. You're sitting in your car, you look to the left. And those trees are there.
It'll block it.
I saw the lines and,
Yeah.
you know, and that's what made me think, well, how is Stonewall Lane better? Because,
Carol?
yeah, okay,
You're free
Nobody
to
agrees
reply.
with that.
it's, yeah,
Yeah,
It's just, it wasn't our first choice.
right,
We understand.
right.
We're in our third choice.
And it's not your first meeting.
It's not the first thing we have here. Believe me, we're trying.
Yeah, I hear you. Any other questions, Bob O'Connor?
No, not really. I did drive over there and Stonewall does not look to me to be a good choice. I think we are all in heated agreement here.
Yeah,
Great, yeah.
okay, well, if there are no other questions from the commissioners for now, I think, any attendees have questions? Yeah,
I think I would recommend directing our attendees to the front of the room so that they can be.
oh, good,
seen
you
on
could come up to the
Zoom.
podium, that'd be great.
Watch step over this cord
You
here.
watch the cords.
Or we'll lose the whole meeting.
Thank you all. My name is Michael Carr, 7 Deer Run, neighbor to the restaurant, proposed restaurant. I just had a clarifying question I just wanted to ask in terms of process. But the June 6th meeting, it was understood that the state doesn't really dictate a plan, but they could approve or disapprove of a submitted plan based on DOT and state issues. And it sounds like the state is starting to communicate some things here without a plan being submitted for approval or denial. And it sounds like we're all in agreement that stone wall is not the best option for either pedestrian vehicles or delivery trucks. But the widening of what we'll now call the center entrance, which is really the west entrance of the two, it would be the best for everyone concerned. If the state had a plan that was approved by the town to say the east entrance is no longer usable, the west entrance, middle entrance will be widened so that it allows for flow, egress and ingress. And the Stonewall Lane entrance will no longer be used. And it's an approved plan from the town in full agreement by everybody concerned. The state then has something to decide to say, we either agree to this or disagree, and here's why. But then it's very specific as to why they disagree. And then you can get into the specifics of, do we really need to take this tree down to approve this? Because the town is not approving the Stonewall Lane exit or entrance, and they're not approving the east entrance or exit, just the middle one. And everyone else would prefer that. So what we heard in the June 6th meeting was that the state needs to have a plan to approve or disapprove. And it doesn't sound like that option has been presented as an approved plan.
If I could just respond to that. So the site plan application that was approved by the commission in December of last year describes exactly what you described. No entrance on Stonewall Lane, using the central entrance as the main way in and out, and eliminating the eastern entrance by the Neck River
And was that approved?
by
By
this
the town?
commission, and that we
Yeah, we
submitted
approved
to
that.
the state.
And it indicated that the eastbound entrance was gonna be closed.
Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And that Stonewall was gonna be closed.
yes.
And they disapproved that.
And that's what they got back to and said, we're not gonna let
What
you
was,
do that.
any idea what the rationale was?
Yes, it was sightline. We needed a perpetual easement on, not only over the Neck River, but also over the neighbor adjoining property just to the east.
So this is for the middle
Correct.
crossing.
Correct. And I have a letter from the neighbors to the east that they will not grant.
Yes, that we.
So yes,
understand.
we did present with what you were talking, that was the.
But we're all in violent agreement that Stonewall Lane has worse sightlines than the middle entrance.
Well, I don't know about violent agreement. But I would say we are in agreement.
But that was the plan that was submitted to the state.
And it was
That's
rejected.
what was rejected.
Do you want to pull up the plan, Aaron, that shows the sight lines? Just maybe that helps
Yeah.
visualize. I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
visual person. I need to see that. Showing what trees would need to come down. Yeah, that.
Right, so you can see.
So that's the middle.
I'm not screen sharing yet, Madam
Yeah.
Chair, sorry, hold on.
Thanks, Chuck.
Yep. So this dark line right here is our newest proposal. So you can see those two trees are directly in this line. So that's when, you know, the eye height is 3.5 feet, you're X amount of feet back from the edge of pavement where most vehicles would look. So this is the sight line now. We don't hit the adjoining property and we are almost 100% within the state right of way. So that's this area here. The actual edge of pavement is right in here. So it's like 25, 30 feet from the bridge in that would have to be cleared. And I believe we identified
The bridge is there.
the bridge is there for
Yeah.
sure, but we did put a couple of, so there are 3 trees that we identified with
Yeah.
X's through them that will have to go. Because they are still within this site window. So anything to the south of this has to be removed of this dark line in here. And this is the 400 and whatever the feet is for the 85th percentile.
And they would approve that without going over to the adjoining property.
Correct. This one precludes us going to the adjoining property, and this is only for passenger cars. The SU 30 vehicles still would have to exit out of here because they're too lumberous to leave here. They can't get to speed. So that's all in here. It's all within the right of way. We don't have to bother the neighbors at all. We do have CAM approval, which the DOT was not aware of at the time. And that's probably my fault for not giving them, but I didn't realize it was going to be an issue at the time. And we can't get rid of these 2 trees. This tree's already gone. We can't get rid of these 2 trees without the first select person agreeing to it. And I believe she referred to the piece. Is that correct, Aaron?
Yes,
Okay.
in conversation with the first select woman, she felt that land use applications were approved by the commission and would wait to hear from the Planning and Zoning Commission before she followed up based on your action. Then she would follow up with the state DOT.
But the state vegetation manual says anything over 18 inches has to be approved by the first select person.
Do you know the diameters of those?
Yeah, they're on there.
Are they?
24, I mean, they're big.
Yeah,
Let's see, like
Yeah.
an 18, 24, whatever, they're big. They're over 18 inches.
right.
So the challenge in the Stonewall exit of the parking area, it leaves the possibility for overflow parking on Stonewall. It also means that you're gonna have more cars and trucks moving off property onto Stonewall into what the most will deem a less desirable entrance into Route 1. You know, I think we're all in a tough place here, but it certainly seems like the logical thing to do is to not approve the Stonewall and exit and push back on the state for the widening of the middle entrance. And I'll leave it to others.
No, I agree 100%. You got, yeah, no, I mean, I'm just seconding what.
You need to be acknowledged by the chair.
I mean,
And
Name and name.
state your name and address,
Yeah.
please. And yeah, it's great to be seen.
no, it's Steve Strauka, 16 Deer Run, and I just wanted to second what Mike had said, that, you know, we live in that neighborhood and trying to pull out there, the way Route 1, the eastbound traffic, it's coming around a curve up a hill, you can't see it.
Yeah.
And it's very dangerous. So I just want to reiterate that, and so we need to work with the DOT to figure out why they rejected the proposal that was from prior, you know, this morning, because that, we were encouraged to see that. And so what can we do to work with the DOT to get back to that, the original proposal, which you did back in December?
I just wanted to be clear, even if we would never be able to go back to the original proposal from December, which is entirely closed off
Okay.
Stonewall. There would always, if they agree with the plan that we proposed, there would be an entrance onto Stonewall for the trucks to get out of the property, to go down Stonewall and exit that way. The trucks would not be able to go out on the post road. I don't want anybody to think that there's not gonna be an entrance on Stonewall. There will be, if the plan that we thought was gonna be approvable, meet it with approval from the DOT is ultimately what gets adopted.
And I'm sorry, and in addition, those trees have to go,
Okay,
if the DOT uses the, entrance.
understand, make that clear.
Yep.
And so the SU vehicles, I guess, is what you're referring to?
Single unit.
Single unit vehicles, and so those cannot exit from the, center entrance and exit
Because they're so, the sightline calculations, I'm not a traffic engineer, so I'm relying on what others told me. The sightline calculations are determined in part by how quickly a vehicle can accelerate and get up to speed, so that it's not creating a hazard on the road that it's entering into. Passenger vehicles accelerate at a faster rate than trucks, delivery trucks. And so the concern is that if you have trucks coming out onto the post road from that center driveway, they're not gonna be able to get up to speed fast enough. They're gonna create a hazard. So that's why they need to go out on the Stonewall. Because it's, from the state's perspective, it's an existing street, they can get out that way instead of on the post road.
And to further explain what Jeff was saying, we couldn't meet the sightline requirement without an easement from the next neighbor to the east. And they refuse to use an easement, so the sightline is increased by another 120 feet, let's say. So those trucks could never leave there. We don't have permission for sight.
Okay, and it is felt that the sightline and all those requirements from Stonewall onto the Boston Post Road is better than the
I
center?
didn't know, I did not say that. I said DOT doesn't care. They said it's an existing town road. Yeah, no,
It's not better.
No,
Yeah.
but that's why with the limited number of vehicles that would be leaving from on Stonewall from that access point and the hours that they would be leaving,
Yeah.
we felt was not gonna have a tremendous negative impact on the neighbors the neighborhood where you live and the other neighbors. live.
it's 10 per week and it'd be left turn only during the daylight hours.
At most.
Thanks, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, doesn't the DOT, isn't there a mechanism for a hardship letter? So if like both scenarios are, you know, we've all agreed that the center exit is the safest, but isn't there a mechanism to get that approved through a hardship letter?
I don't know.
Exactly, I spoke with Tracy May at the DOT and she mentioned that might be the best option.
Do you have anything, right?
No, I spoke with her this morning.
And what'd you say?
she said that there is a mechanism, with the hardship letter that can be filed with another division of DOT for scenarios like this. She mentioned that.
Like I said, we're happy to continue pursuing it, but we're also trying to advance it.
I understand, yeah, and it's regretful that it's taken. You know, appreciate it.
Well, I think we all want to get to yes. And I'm wondering if the SLR supplement, maybe not a full-blown traffic study, but something, and it would even support a hardship claim or something. Erin, does that make sense?
I don't know about a hardship mechanism. I'm sure the applicant can explore that further
Yeah.
and
And I think we have talked about whether or not another traffic study was needed at previous meetings. So, you know, with this back and forth from DOT and approval and then not approval, it sounds like the best
But
next
if a
step.
hoop will jump.
Yeah,
I think we also need to see what's DOT thinking, because they haven't completely responded to what's going on yet either, correct?
They may look at that CAM application and report and go, you know what, now that we have it, we're fine.
Right.
But it still doesn't preclude the SU vehicles.
But what I'm saying is it's an open question.
Yes, it is an open question, absolutely. And we're going to pursue that.
Okay, that's fine.
What would a traffic study do at this point? He's done one, when was it done?
well, they didn't address Stonewall Lane as an egress,
That was never part of it.
because we're taking away that.
And
Can they comment on what they originally did if that was? Just one.
It's part of the record, traffic study. We were closing Stonewall off. But I agree with, the commission member, I don't know what it's gonna do, but, and the owner has to agree to pay for it.
Yeah,
I mean, we're all, we always spend our money.
and then I think we need a site plan for exactly what we're voting on
Yeah.
and not, not
That site
we'll do
plan-
this and then we'll continue to do.
No,
this.
that site plan has been submitted. We have that site. That's
Yeah.
part of the record. It got late it was, the last minute, but their site plan does exist.
I think it's stated yesterday.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Madam Chair, I don't know if anybody else had comments, but we do have a hand raised in the
Okay, let's
audience.
go to that.
Fran Brady? Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Thanks. This is Fran Brady, 108 Genesee, Madison. I'm a co-founder of Mad for Trees and also a member of a team that's working on writing a tree ordinance for the town of Madison. I will be brief. I just wanted to emphasize a couple things. My comments primarily go to the town planner, the P&Z board, and anyone else concerned with the natural beauty of our town. There were some quotes just now. One from the lawyer representing the applicant. Sightlines, those trees must go. Planning and Zoning Board. That was not clear. Those are scary words to hear this far into the whole process from a guy that wants to see trees protected. I want to make a quick point. Our team is trying to develop an ordinance that will help the town preserve trees as much as they can, but also to replace them. So knowing that this project's going to move forward, knowing that those significant 18-inch, 24-inch, whatever size trees are going to have to come down now because of the sight lines have been changed. And of course, the trees that were also the American elm and other huge significant trees that were already taken down. Those trees, if we had a reasonable tree ordinance like many other towns, those would be replaced at the expense of the applicant. And maybe it's not going to happen this time, but for God's sake, I hope the town, the planner, the board, anyone else will support the fact that based on this poster child of a case, that you will support a tree ordinance for this town. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to clarify one point where you said that it wasn't clear about the trees. Early in the discussion, it wasn't clear. But later on, it was clear that that was part of the proposal with DOT.
Any other questions? For the applicant? A couple hands there.
Jim Nordgren?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thanks. I'm sorry I missed the beginning of the meeting. I didn't get the notice that it was going to start an hour earlier. So if I missed the discussion, forgive me, but if you could just go over, I know the DOT was discussing replacing the 4 mature trees that were cut down illegally in the DOT right of way. And as I recall, it was implied that it was up to the town's highest elected official, which was Peggy Lyons. Has that been resolved?
That's a question for the applicant.
We have, the first select person hasn't indicated what she'd like us to do, so I can't say it's been resolved.
Can we get some closure on that? It's been a couple weeks. As I recall, DOT wanted those trees to be replaced if it was desired by the town's highest elected official. The DOT letter said they were illegally cut. So I just want to get that resolved. Can you keep that on the front burner, please? Thank you.
Thank you.
Alex Province?
Good evening. This is Alex Province, 917 Boston Post Road. As you recall, last meeting, I was eager to help move this forward for the sake of the applicant, who I think has suffered quite a bit. And as a business person, I'm highly concerned for them. But the notion that we as a town are even considering removing more trees from this area is just mind-boggling. There was such community outcry for the tree that was accidentally already removed. The thought that we would take down more off the Neck River, from the Neck River, in addition to the new school that we're building on the Neck River, a new potential bridge, sidewalk crossing over on Green Hill Road over the Neck River. It just goes against everything that so many people in the community of Madison are saying is important to us. So yes, I'm sure you're going to ask, so what is the solution? I still think an egress, it might not be perfect, but onto Stonewall Lane with landscaping to protect the homes directly affected is still the best option. But removing trees, majestic trees, exposing the river, some person last meeting had met the fish that would be affected that need shade. I can't recall the species, but just absolutely mind-boggling. And I hope the commission sides with me. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm thinking that safety first, and I would like reassurance that the Stonewall Lane is a safer egress or not. And if it's not, I think maybe that gives us more information to take back to DOT.
We need something more definitive.
So I would encourage the supplemental SLR study to be done by our next meeting if possible, and if that's possible.
Yeah, everyone's so busy right now. That too probably won't happen in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It would probably be, and I don't know where we are statutorily.
Right.
I was just gonna give you a little time frame guidance.
It won't happen. in
Chuck.
2 weeks.
So the hearing opened on May 16th. You have 35 days to hold that meeting open. That brings you to July 4th. Your next regularly scheduled meeting for applications really is July 18th. So that would be your next available date.
So we would consider.
And you
So we're
would
still good.
send to an extension,
An extension.
attorney meeting.
Yeah, 2 weeks is way too short.
That would be great.
Well, I have to ask my client if he agrees. No, no, you don't. You don't have to, but it's just left the noise. Okay. Client agrees, so I'm just gonna.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry this is
So
so,
just
so
wanna know.
difficult.
What about if they come back and say, listen, no matter what you do, you can't get out, and Boston Post Road?
And we're back to the neighbors.
We don't. This one.
Yeah, then we write up an agreement, I think, about what the conditions are for that.
You have to have a solution. I've been approved and I've spent a lot of money to improve the place and the site and everything, so I just can't.
We
I'm stuck
appreciate
in the
that.
middle of cutting a tree or not, and all that stuff.
We're in limbo.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, going.
We'll do what we can to try and get you the information that you've asked for.
Okay, thanks so much.
Madam Chair,
Thank
we need a motion to
Should I have a
continue.
motion to extend this public hearing to our July 8th? Is that my? We've gotten an extension from you.
Yes.
We'll get it in writing.
Yeah, I'll get it in writing. I'll have, the esteemed attorney.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
Any discussion about sending to the July?
Sounds good.
Okay, all in favor?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Bob O'Connor, okay, thank you. Thank you. So frustrating, okay. Next on our agenda is 24-17. This is a petition for regulation text amendment. The applicant is Kelly and Kingsley Goddard. Petition to amend section 3.11 D4 of the Madison zoning regulations, special use regulations for farms in a residence district. Could I have a motion to open the hearing?
I'll second that.
And it's second.
I'll do the second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Great, thank you. I think the applicant just stepped out.
Yes, and Kelly, can you hear us?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I can. I'm right here.
Okay, you just have to get Kingsley back.
Oh, did he leave?
He just stepped out.
You're on, Kingsley.
Okay, we're all here. The applicants are here. I think Kelly is on her iPhone and Kingsley, you're here in person.
Thank you.
So, where's yours?
What kind help you with?
You want to walk through what you're proposing?
Oh, yes.
Or read
We
through
are
what you're proposing?
Yes.
Okay, so you can see me.
Next amendment to move our, no longer existing barn structure to the front property. We have dismantled it, piece by piece. And we're gonna try and put it up front. Our request is that it be less than 100 feet from our local property line, and that it be 50 feet, which leaves us plenty of parking. I've got that, things if you like to look, but it's a.
First, maybe Kelly, do you want to read what your proposed text changes? Or do you want to?
I don't have it in front of me.
I'm gonna screen share it for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Kellyanne.
Okay. All right, do you want me to read it? We propose, let me see, so hold it. We propose section 311D, special use regulation for farm store in a residential zone, to be amended to state, no building or structure used as a farm store shall be located within 50 feet of any side or rear property line. As we have lost our historic barn to develop, this change would allow us to reconstruct our historic barn, preserve farmland, and enhance the viability of the farm to exist into the future. Can I read you just that part? Because that's the part that has the red. Yeah.
So the change is going from 100 foot to 50 foot.
Correct.
Right.
Any questions from commissioners?
This is a permanent across the board for everybody, or this is a special use case?
It would be
I-
for everyone who is a farm. You must have 5 acres or more. Right? to have a 1,500 square foot retail space? Or we're larger, but we are within regs,
That's under D.
right?
So where exactly are you proposing to build the barn? You have a map there.
Yes, this is going to be, if you are familiar with our farm stand area.
Regular customer?
Oh, good. Thank
Do you
you.
want to pull it up, Aaron?
I don't,
I don't think we have any of them.
this is, right, so this is, the
Because we're
application before
applying-
you is a general text amendment,
Correct.
which would allow a reduced setback for a farm store, 50 feet potentially closer to a property line. But a farm store is an allowed use by special exception. And so anybody, this regulation was, well, it was amended in various years, but essentially came into effect in 2015 and has not been utilized since the adoption of the regs. And so I can scroll down here, to farm stores. There are general provisions as Mr. Goddard indicated, 5-acre requirement, a maximum of 1,000 square feet for farms of less than 15 acres, and 1,500 square feet of farm store for farms of 15 acres or more. There are parking requirements for the farm store. There is, however, a provision for dependent structures on a farm, and they're permitting as of right. And so the task of moving the barn within 50 feet of a property line on the property is not prohibited by the zoning regulations. You know, buildings and structures devoted exclusively to agriculture or farming are permitted as of right in the zone. It's the conversion of a structure to a farm store that then triggers a special exception process. So as you're considering this, yes, it does consider the Goddard's property at 353 Boston Post Road, but any farm within the residential zones in the district. And you currently have no permitted farm stores under this regulation.
Right, but they would still have to apply as a special exception anyway.
That's correct. There is a requirement for a special exception.
And I want to add that it did go to the regional planning.
Yes,
SCROG,
I can-
and they didn't see any problem.
They liked it.
The, yes, the regional planning commission did review their recommendation, which I think I indicated, was to see if this affected any farms within 500 feet of our municipal boundary. So as part of the application process, this application was referred to all of our adjoining municipalities as well as the regional planning commission. And there was no feedback that was received from adjacent municipalities.
Okay.
No feedback received except for one letter that is in the record as a letter of support.
Okay.
And Bob has his hand
Bob
raised. Madam
O'Connor?
Chair.
My question is, there been any notification of the neighbors or any data from them if they think this is a good idea?
This is a regulation text amendment, Bob. It is not site specific like a zone boundary amendment. So there is no notification requirement of any abutters because it's not affecting one single property.
Okay, so the answer is no.
Yes.
It's a text amendment. At this stage.
So far.
Any other questions from commissioners? Any questions from attendees? A hand up?
No question, but a comment.
Do you want to come to the podium?
Sure. Hey. Frank and Caroline Linda, Tony Lane, Jason with the Salisbury Farm. Speaking directly to the text amendment, everyone believes it's a very good idea. It makes sense, in particular, because the substance in this case, because it moves the barn to a more level. position rather than being down the hill. And it would be, both the public and the farm would be better served by having this approved. Additionally, last summer, we heard many comments from those who attended the meetings on the town's future. And one of the things mentioned by a number of people were preservation of the farm. In this case, it's particularly symbolic because in the front of the farm, Marbury Farm, is the farm stand that had previously been for a number of years used by Anthony and Edwin Dollar in their garage to sell farm products from at Bauer Farm for many years before they donated their farm to town. It is now probably going to be moved into the farm building. So symbolically, there's a continuation of the farm in response to what people were saying. It's the best we can do right now, but it's important that that connection is made. So I think it's a very good idea and it should be approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions?
Madam Chair, Erin Mannix, again, I did just want to submit my staff comments into the record right here and remind the commission that in enacting or amending regulations, you're acting legislatively and not administratively, and therefore have broad discretion, and remind you of the two-part test that is used to that is applied to determine if the commission's legislative action is proper, which I don't have to read through those. Also, under Connecticut General Statutes 8-2, you are a combined planning and zoning commission. You must also make a finding that if you are moving for an approval that the regulation or the proposed amendment is consistent with the Plan of Conservation and Development, your POCD, which is your master plan. And as you're aware, since we've spent 2 years on that, it does establish the recommendations for future development of our community, and the zoning regulations are one of the tools that are used to implement that.
And that would be the 2013 Plan of Conservation and Development. So
Because the other one is not.
we have not
That is not yet.
gotten final
Yes.
approval. Okay. Thank you, Erin. You're welcome. I think
Any-
we're ready then to make a decision, and I agree that we want to do whatever we can to save your farm. Thank you. And other farms in Madison. So I think it's a reasonable text amendment.
I agree.
Could I have a motion then? Oh, sorry, Erin.
I would move to approve the amendment.
Sorry, I have not closed the public hearing and moved to deliberation, so could I have a motion to close the public hearing and a second. For the discussion. Sorry, my bad. And then we'll move to deliberations. Can I use jet lag as an excuse? So we'll move to deliberations. So we just had some discussion, but again, I think that the text amendment is a good amendment, not just for your farm, but for all the farms. And we want to do whatever we can to keep our farms.
Well, that'd be good.
And if we're all in agreement, maybe we can have a motion as it's been drafted for us by Erin, our town planner. I think Bob O'Connor is waving a hand behind.
Yes, let me try again to introduce this amendment. I think we should approve it. Do I need to read it?
Yes.
Voted that the Madison Planning and Zoning Commission approve application number 2417, petition for regulation text amendment. Applicant Kelly and Kingsley Goddard, petition to amend section 3.11D in parentheses 4 of the Madison zoning regulations, special use regulations for farms in a residence district as proposed. This approval is made based upon the fact that the applicant has successfully demonstrated that the proposal is consistent with the intent of and the goals and objectives contained in the Plan of Conservation and Development, including encouraging economic development while promoting the retention of undeveloped land in residential zones. The effective date of this approval shall be July 19th, 2020.
I want to help Lunacy.
Thanks, Clifton. Any further discussion? All in favor for approval? It's unanimous. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Commission. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you,
Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly. and
Thank you,
Kingsley.
panel.
Good night.
All right. All right, next on our agenda, we have some pending applications. I think, so we have on the agenda 24-16 for 251 Boston Post Road, that we moved past.
That could be tabled.
And
I motion to table that.
Will that to July
as well.
18th?
Motion.
Second? Jeff, any further discussions? All in favor? All right, so that's tabled to July 18th as well. And next on the agenda, we have 24-18 plus the coastal site plan for 159 Cottage Road, map 32, lot 31, zone commercial C. Owner Jeffrey Bailey, applicant Nick Anderson, site plan modification. Oh, sorry, applicant is Nick Anderson. Site plan modification and coastal site plan to install ice vending machine and associated drainage systems specifically designed to manage ice melt runoff. Includes establishing connection to the municipal water supply using existing infrastructure along Cottage Road to facilitate the operation of the vending machine. The applicant like to come forward and identify yourself, please?
Yep.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for taking the time to review my application. Before I begin, I'd like to thank specifically Leah, who with the town has helped me a lot with this process. It's the first time I've ever had to do something like this, so you know, it was nice to be able to go to someone in our town to give me a hand with it all.
Great.
So-
So identify yourself. Nick?
Yes, Nick Anderson. I live at 117 Summerhill Road in Madison. So I want to give you a little brief background on kind of how all this played out into why we're here today. So it was brought to my attention, found on Facebook a couple months ago that the current owner, Jeffrey Bailey, was looking to sell the ice house. And I saw it on Facebook, I was thinking about it, like, this is so cool, it's such an iconic thing in our town. So I reached out to him, you know, to discuss the, you know, how it works and all that stuff. We came to an agreement and everything. We were looking more into, you know, how we can improve the ice house, seeing how we're limited by, you know, staffing hours and it's seasonal. Obviously on days like today, selling ice is not an issue, but, you know, because it's only during the summer months, we want to explore ways to, you know, increase our offerings to those in our community. So we found this ice machine specifically, which would sit on our front porch. It's sized up accordingly, so it'll fit perfectly on there, and it requires us to hook up to the city water. In addition to that, we have to install a infiltrator, a drainage system for the ice melt runoff. Now, it's important to note that, you know, I did a lot of research on a bunch of these different ice vending machines. Little background on myself, I'm licensed septic installer, and I do a lot of these drainage systems every day of my life. And it was very important that we found a specific ice vending machine that wasn't a filtration system, so it did not have a discharge to it. So what this machine does, it has a 5-stage sediment filtration system with UV in it. So the incoming, you know, city water, which you could drink, comes into the system, it goes through the filtration system, and then out comes ice. So the drainage system that it requires for the machine is not for the filtered excess water. It's actually just for excess ice melt runoff. So, you know, in the event that it's 95 degrees on a Monday morning and there's not too many people buying ice, you know, all the ice that's in there, if it melts, it'll go off into the drain. So I spoke with Trent, and we designed a, you know, infiltrator system that, you know, is more than enough sized up to, you know, withstand, you know, the ice melt runoff and everything. So this is pretty much kind of what we're doing over there. And, you know, like I said, I appreciate your guys' time on all this, and I'll have to answer any questions you may have.
So you've been working with Trent, who's our public health.
Correct.
Yeah.
And Amanda as well, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. Okay, good.
Go ahead.
I'm happy to screen share, Nick. I
Oh,
have
yeah.
your site plan and the renderings.
You've got good
if
images,
you want to
Yeah,
go through.
yeah.
some of that
Actually,
as
if you want to go through that, thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah, so
Um,
what, you want to start with your site plan or your images?
It would just look better.
This one, start here?
We'll go like the one that shows the phase one, or the cars, right there, that's good, yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me get us.
So I don't know if any of you have visited the site, recently or anything, but right now there's what's called ice merchandisers on the outside. They're essentially just ice storage units. So our plan is to actually remove those ice storage units, kind of clean up the lot, make it, a little bit more accessible for, parking and such, and just clean things up. The ice vending machine, like I said, is just gonna be situated on the porch, very similar to what the ice merchandiser is there right now. The size of it is 44 inches by 54 inches in terms of width and length, so it's not like it's taking up the whole building here. If you scroll down, we have to put in a railing here, so we put in like a rope railing, so it is still okay in terms of the fire marshal's perspective. I believe Aaron and Maria worked on that today, signed off on all that. Up to their standards of, so nobody falls off the deck, seeing how we're now inviting people onto the porch. One thing I did forget to mention, this ice vending machine is not replacing, our existing business model. It's an addition. One of the things, I actually keep my boat in a little marina there and I go fishing as much as I can if I'm not working. And, go out in the morning at 4:30 to go fishing. Unfortunately, nothing's quite open in this town. So I have to stock up on ice the night before, and half of it melts before I even get to the boat in the morning. So this allows those early morning fishermen to get some ice. That's really all it is. We do plan on keeping the tradition of staffing it. I think that's important. That's what people sometimes go to the ice house for, is just to have a friendly conversation over something instead of just going to your local gas station. Fishing, yeah, whoever, yeah, there's a million of things. So we're gonna continue that. It's really just to, those early morning fishermen, those late evening people staying at Hammonasset. It's just a little bit more offering. And then, one of the big things that Jeff brought to my attention was during the hurricanes that we had. Hopefully, we never have one in our town again, but we do live on the, the coast. So who knows with things changing nowadays. But anyways, the ice vending machine is equipped to hook up to a generator. So in the event that there is power outages in our town, we could still supply people those who need ice with it. Jeff said he sold out in like 48 hours during the last hurricane because they were all out of power and
Yeah.
not really had generators anymore. So it's nice to be able to offer that to, people in our community. So yeah, this is pretty much in terms of the look of how it will look when nobody is working there. We'll close that off, and then when somebody is present on site, we plan on unhooking the net and, coming back to that old way of, opening people to
Serving from the.
correct.
Yeah.
Yep, the way it has been. So
And Nick, you can mention that you did go to ACA and met with them, and you went through your options for railings, and really that's the only facade
yeah,
change.
yep, so the actual vending machine, it was brought up that, the color in here, and then we sent them over the actual color. It's a little bit more blue. The guy who did the rendering made it look purple, so they brought that up, but so yeah, it's more blue. And yeah, the net and everything, they liked the idea, instead of having it like closed off, it's still that like warm welcome, we put little buoys on it to kind of give you a fisherman look.
Fishing net look.
Yeah, exactly. But it seemed
But
they liked it,
safety
and
first.
I like it. I think it's exactly safety first. We want to make sure that no one's going to get hurt or anything. But they liked it, so.
Right, and so really the facade changes are what we would consider in the zoning regulations a minor site plan modification, which could be done administratively by staff, but because of the location and the installation of the infiltrator, it does trigger a coastal site plan application. So that's really another aspect why Nick is here. And I can, and with respect to that, Nick did take staff Maria's suggestion and did have an updated site plan provided, and as well as complete the coastal application. And we did today receive comments from DEP as well, indicating that there were no adverse impacts. He did go through, which you can read aloud if you'd like, or you can read, I did put those in my staff report too, what the coastal resources on site and adjacent are, and that really any potential impacts to coastal resources can be mitigated during the temporary installation of the infiltrator with ENS controls. So Bob and
How far
others
away from the
online.
Madison River?
location of it.
Yeah,
It should be in there, I believe it's 405 feet. Now I remember when I measured it off.
thanks.
Right, I'm gonna ask the question, the deck can support 5 or 6 people plus the machine with no problem.
Correct, yes.
And doesn't the machine have a condensation line on it?
A condensation line? Yes, that is the discharge line.
That's the
connects
discharge
into-
line.
Yes, correct. That goes into the infiltrator. We don't want anything running out onto the street. It's all going to be contained on the ground.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
Any other questions? I think we're ready for a vote. Everybody, Bob O'Connor, you good?
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks, Aaron, for those additional comments. Someone like to make a motion to approve? Andrewsa?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Deb, second. Any further discussion? John, can you read what we have?
Voted that the Madison Planning and Zoning Commission approve application number 24-18 coastal site plan. 159 Cottage Road, map 32, lot 3-1, zone commercial C. Owner Jeffrey Bailey, applicant Nick Anderson. Site plan modification, coastal site plan to install ice vending machine, associated drainage system specifically designed to manage ice melt runoff. Includes establishing connection to the municipal water supply using existing infrastructure along Cottage Road to facilitate the operation of the vending machine. As shown on application documents with the following conditions. 1, the zoning enforcement officer shall be notified at least 48 hours prior to commencement of any regulated activity. 2, at all times during the site work and until soil areas are stabilized, the applicant shall install and maintain erosion and sediment control measures such as fabric filter fence, stake hay bales, and other measures deemed necessary by the zoning enforcement officer to prevent erosion and sedimentation. 3, the applicant shall obtain any necessary encroachment permits prior to work within town right of way. In the event that changes to the approved plans are required as a result of other agency permitting to support the proposed activity, the Madison Planning and Zoning Commission reserves the right to review said changes and may require modification of this approval. This approval is made based upon the finding that the proposed use is a permitted use in the district, and that the standards, prerequisites, and conditions specified by the regulations have been met. The commission further finds the proposal consistent with all applicable goals and policies in the Coastal Management Act and Section 25 of the Madison zoning regulations. The applicant's effort to maintain adequate soil and erosion controls during temporary construction activities reduces potential impacts to on-site and adjacent coastal resources. The effective date of this approval is June 19th, 2024.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you, Aaron, for your help.
Moving right along, 24-22 New Road. This is map 60, lot 18, zone PDD, owner applicant 155 New Road LLC, site plan review. Proposed site plan application to construct a 22,491 square foot plus or minus medical office building and associated site improvements per approved master plan pursuant to section 32 of the plan.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Anybody having trouble hearing me?
No, ma'am.
No. May it please the court. We're not there. Right church, wrong pew. Hi, I'm Attorney Marjorie Chansky, and I represent 155 New Road, Madison LLC in this detailed site plan review. I'm here this evening with Kenny Horton and Ann Horton from the company. I'm also here with Michael Harton, our professional engineer, site designer, and civil engineer, John Wicko, the architect, and John Cunningham on landscaping. This detailed site plan review follows the commission's prior approval of the master plan for this development of the south side of New Road. I think because Aaron's reporting goes into the detail, as will Michael, that I'm not going to be redundant here. I will add this, however, in connection with her reporting, is that the commission is reminded that at the time of the adoption of the PDD designation for both sides of New Road. And at the time of the master plan for the south side of New Road, first we had a draft report from SLR for the aggregate district, and then we had a supplemental report for the master plan associated with the south side. And I want to emphasize, because Dave Sullivan at SLR had made some recommendations, and in fact, some restriping has occurred that we have all found blessedly advantageous and making it a better coming and going from New Road and from really Town Hall. That the conclusion of the traffic report was that even without additional road improvements, the development works. And that's an important element to keep in mind, because to get, as we heard earlier this evening, getting DOT to come to the table and have that coherent conversation also entails, in this case, the town of Madison. And while those, the interest has been maintained, there has been no advancement in the governmental agencies. So the focus is withdrawn to the manageability and the viability and the suitability of the scale of development as is. So with that, my team of experts will parade before you.
Thank you, Attorney Shasky.
For the record, my name is Michael Harkin. I'm a professional engineer and principal of Harkin Engineering, located at 78 Wolf Hollow Lane in the town of Killingworth, Connecticut. Again, here tonight on behalf of our clients, 155 New Road Madison LLC, for their project entitled the Hammonasset Medical Center Project. So just to go over some housekeeping, the civil engineering firm of record is Harkin Engineering LLC. The land surveyor of record is Anderson Engineering and Surveying Associates out of Guilford. Again, the applicant is 155 New Road Madison LLC. Again, to restate that, Kenny Horton, the president, and Matt Horton, the vice president, are here tonight. To go over it, you may remember you just had an application in front of you a couple months ago, which was the north side of New Road. I was here last year and we got the master plan approved for that. We also got the master plan approved for the south side. Before we get into it, the original master plan that you saw, we'd adhered to about 98% of that. The only difference is we got approved for a larger building. We actually get up the building. We made it smaller. So that's the only real difference. So I'm going to go into detail on the project plan set, and the civil set.
Michael, unfortunately, the podium is blocking.
Sure.
Yeah, just move it back.
No worries.
Yeah, whatever works, and if it's on, you can put it in the front. Okay.
I just don't want to block any.
I'm gonna screen share the plans for you
Perfect.
as you're pulling
Thank
them
you.
up.
Sure.
That-
That way you guys.
Great.
Sorry, people in the audience.
Thank you. So we see this.
Okay, so, again, this is the south side parcel of New Road being here, Duck Hole Road, and the connector being down in this area. The site is comprised of 2.731 acres. It abuts the state property, and then this is the wooded part of the state property, and then you have I-95 right here, so it's right direct off the highway and highway views. There are two drainage discharge from the town road system that discharge on the property. There is an easement for that. They are allowed to discharge on the property. It's not a specific area that they discharge on. They're just allowed to put the water on the property. So we are in the PDD zone. Mark Turner-Shansky and I were here a few years ago with that PDD. You may remember seeing us on that. So in front of you is the detailed site plan. Again, the site plan virtually mirrors what you have previously seen. Again, the building right now is at 22,491 square feet. I believe it was 29,000 when we came in front of you. It was about 5,000 or 7,000 square feet bigger. We just shrunk it basically in the same footprint area. So as you come down New Road off of Duck Hole Road, you come in and our entry driveway is located as far east as possible. It basically mirrors the driveway on the north side. So it's almost like an intersection. The reason both driveways are there, it has the best sight distance for safety. You heard a lot tonight about safety. So it does have the best sight distance. Again, to reiterate what Marjorie had said is SLR actually did our detailed, analysis as well, on both the intersection and this area. So we have our entry driveway, we have 1 lane in. Coming out, we have 2 lanes, a left turn lane to town and a right turn lane towards Duck Hole Road. As you come into the site, it's 24 feet wide, natural side for basically a roadway, so you can fit trucks, you can fit ambulances, and delivery vehicles. As you come in, if you're a medical professional, if you're a staff, you take a left, you have your own parking area in this vicinity. We have 2 EV charging stations for cars there. Again, we have the required loading zone in this section too, so the loading of equipment or materials will come in through the back entrance. We also have the garbage and recycling in the same place we had it before. That is a architectural design feature. John Wicko, our architect, will be discussing it. He does have a rendering of that he designed, as well as John Cunningham has virtually put in landscaping in order to block the views from New Road. Again, we also have our generator. It's emergency backup generator because it's an office medical use. So that is located again within the building setback lines. The generator will meet all the decibel levels of the town of Madison per the requirements. So as you keep traveling down into the site, the front of the building is where it's always been, kind of in the back of the project site. That is the front. You can see there's full circulation. All driveways are 24 feet wide. You can get the fire trucks around there and bigger vehicles if necessary. We have a main entrance area with a covered porch. So if somebody needed medical help or medical treatment, to our doctor's visit, they can pull up and be shielded for rain and things like that. The handicap parking spaces are located adjacent to that main entrance. They're also located against the sidewalk area that we have here. And again, it's 1% handicap access into the front of the building. Per ACA's, we did go to ACA. We do have full ACA approval on this. They had asked that we put in a bike rack, which we have done right here, centrally located. And another site feature that we added for the tenants and anybody walking from the residential component is we added a small picnic area for outside eating. You may remember that in order to link up the project site, we had that sidewalk. And we left that sidewalk in, but we also linked it to the picnic area and to the front of the medical building. As we go out through the site, you can see we have another 2 EV charging stations in this area. So we have 4 on site altogether. As we work down, we have all of the parking for the patients or whoever's going to be using other workers. We do have a parking breakdown. We have 116 parking spaces, 5 per 1,000 square feet of building. It's actually 5.2 when you break it down. Because we are in the PDD, we meet all the bulk standards for lot size, front yard, side yard, rear yard, lot coverage, and building height as well. So we meet all those bulk standards. We have a 5 to 1,000 parking ratio. The master plan before, I believe, had 4 to 1,000, I believe, was approved. So we actually bettered that percentage by shrinking the building.
Okay.
So we go on to the detailed site development plan, which has all the utilities. We do have gas, we do have water. Eversource is right here, so we do have electrical. So we'll be coming in with the fire service. We need a fire service for this building for the sprinkler system, and then we need a domestic line as well. They will be coming down, tying into this area of the building. And then we have a gas service tying into this section. The underground utilities will come here to the transformer on the right side and then come into the building. So virtually we're taking all the utilities and bringing them into here and not having to come down through the back of the building. And one of the reasons is the slope is actually, the area back here is actually in a hole about 8 feet below the surface of New Road. Okay. And with that being said, the guide rail for New Road ends in this vicinity. And because we're in this vicinity, we met with the town engineers and they suggested that we have to, on our own dime, put in this metal guide rail just to protect anybody coming over into this building area. It will be the new style metal rail that they had put in here, and they asked us to put the actual detail on the detail sheet, which is the metal beam rail, the type R350 that they wanted. So we took care of that. As we go down, you can see we have the building. The building is pretty large and impervious, so we're going to have a lot of runoff coming off the roof. You can see in the four corners, we have the actual roof leaders tying into the drainage system. They're not discharging to grade. It's a large footprint, so we're putting them in the storm drainage system. All these hash lines you can see is a full storm drainage network with catch basins, manholes. You can see all the inverts and the pipe sizes accordingly. And then we have a discharge point into an infiltration basin. Before all the water gets out and discharges into that infiltration basin, we have a hydroworks separator that's going to take up and clean any of the water as it comes out. I will get into it later on. We are in an aquifer, water company aquifer, same as the north side. So we touch base with the engineers on the other side. They're actually friends of ours and we work hand in hand. We saw the letter that the Connecticut Water Company had given to them. We implemented what they had required on that into our project. So such things as 4-foot deep catch basin sumps to collect all the sediment. We've added hoods to all the catch basins. So the sediment and debris stands in those catch basins. We do have a post-development plan for the storm drainage system that has to be adhered to. It's a detailed document that usually gets filed on the land records with it. It's every year what has to happen if there's any salting or sanding and the cleaning of it. It's basically a big maintenance plan. So the infiltration basin itself is located in the furthest westerly corner of the site. And the reason for that, if there's any debris here, it doesn't fall into the infiltration basin. The soils on the site are beautiful sandy gravels. Between these two sites, we dug over 40 holes on it. Because it's sandy gravels, it has a great infiltration rate. Hence, we have an infiltration basin and we're putting what we call groundwater recharge. Because we have impervious area, the Connecticut Water likes to see clean water get put back in the ground to replace the aquifer. So that's what we're doing with that. We had designed the infiltration basin. You can see the drainage calculations here for the 10-year storm. Let me take a little step back. You may remember that I had the drainage coming across here. Again, we met with the town engineers and went over it. Obviously, we can't have water spilling right down in the middle of the project site. So we came to an agreement where we would extend their pipes and put in a series of manholes, collect their water and have it come around the infiltration. Okay. Because we are doing that, the town engineer had required that we put a 20-foot easement on here granted to the town, which we agreed to. We would have to go through Aaron and the town engineers with our attorney to get that documented and approved. And then also a blanket easement over the site so they can actually come onto the site and fix the piping if they ever need to.
All right, so with the easement, then they would own servicing that run.
They would, because it's their pipe and their water. We're installing it, but it's theirs. It's kind of like the guide rail. We're installing it and they maintain it. So again, on the drainage calculations, we designed for a 10-year storm event, which is generally a state requirement. The town of Madison's storm drainage regulations don't call out for a design storm. There is nothing. You go to other towns, they say design for the 100, design for the 50, design for the 2. Madison doesn't have one. We took it upon ourselves to design it for the 10-year storm event. I met with Rob Russo, one of the town engineers, and he had indicated that, hey, we might want to see the 25-year storm event. And I was like, well, somebody's got to tell us. And he was going to go back to Johnny Ionako and find out. I met with him again on Monday, and he said he was going to meet with him and get back to us. He never did. But what he did say is that he would get a chance to look at it in the future prior to the next meeting, I hope. The thing is, he is going on vacation. He put that out to me. So you can see right now this detention basin is sized for a 10-year storm. Just to give you a little perspective, it's about 2.5 times the size of this room for the 10-year storm. We left enough room in this area. If they do require it to get bigger, we can house the 25 to 50. They just have to tell us, and we'll be able to accommodate that. And they may come back and say the 10-year storm is fine. We just don't know yet. So another item that we designed into the plan is the septic system that you see here. Okay, it's a centralized septic system. We do have soil testing in that area. We do have full approval from Trent on this. We have a letter from, April 17th approving the septic system, so that's all set. Our following design page is basically all the stuff for the septic systems, the latest test holes that we have here, the design and all the requirements and inverts they need to install, the septic. The next part of our plan set is our erosion control plan. We have a specific erosion control plan for the site, which shows where to plant the silt fence, where to put the stake hay bales. If we get into grading of this bank, which we have to, and there starts to be erosion, we have erosion control blankets and size called out on the actual manufacturer, and actual unit to be used. When the storm drainage goes in, all the catch basins will have hay bales around there, so no silt gets in them, or we'll actually put silt sacks in there, just so we don't have that dirty water getting in there, for the Connecticut water's requirements. And then the last sheet is our typical detail sheet. It's got all the requirements from DEP as far as dust control, if it gets dusty when we're working out there, the best management practices, where they can and can't fuel their machines, especially because we are in an aquifer. It's all spelled out. Again, we have the catch basins hoods with the Connecticut water lights, the 4-foot deep sumps. We have called out the actual HydroWorks separator to clean the water. Again, we have the guide rail required by engineering, and then we have a water quality volume calculation. So today it was brought to my attention that we needed to update this calculation. I think Aaron had sent me an email. We looked into it. It took me 60 seconds to change the number. We had a number of 1 inch requirement. The new requirement that they want is 1.3 inches, very, very small increase. It took us 60 seconds to plug it in the calculation and spit it back out. We do, for the record, we'll submit it tonight. It only changed that pond by that much. There's so much, the pond is so significantly sized, it had very minimal effect in it, and you probably wouldn't even see it to the naked eye. We're talking decimal points as far as water increase. But again, it is grossly oversized even for the 10-year storm event. So with that being said, and just to recap what we have going on as far as approvals, we do have ACA approval. We've gone there a couple times, and we'll get into the building. Mr. Wicko will start going over that. We do have health department approval. As part of this application, because we are in an aquifer, we're required to notify the Connecticut Water Company, which we did. We sent the letter and then we sent it into Erin, so she had it for the record. Because I'm so anal, I actually do engineering for the Connecticut Water Company. I didn't hear anything back from them in a week. So I actually sent an email to the one of the senior engineers, and I said, hey, can you look into this for me? He contacted Jessica Baldwin, who's the head of their environmental department. I got an email at 4 o'clock today. You know, it's up to the board. Just heard back from Jessica in our lands department. Her most recent document is from December 23rd. For the project on the road, she's going to check her mailbox at the main building in Clinton. So we are on it. We did check the box. We did notify them. We are in contact with them. And anything they get, we will add in the plans when we have to put the final set into the building department. We did submit the maintenance plan, the stormwater maintenance plan. It's a 3-page document, how to clean the oil water separator, when to suck out the catch basins, and when we have to submit reports. The drainage calcs are here. Again, we're just waiting from engineering on the which storm event. We have full capability of making it as big or as small as they want. We're hoping they say 2-year storm, we can reduce the size. And then we have the updated water quality volume calculations here. And again, it has the 1.3 that Aaron was looking for. And again, we adjusted everything accordingly. So with that being said, I'd like to turn it over now to John Wicko, but before I leave, I just want to show you. So it's a complete application. We do have a full photometric plan with the lighting and those documents, and well as we do have a full landscape architect plan, which John Cunningham's. Great.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sure, absolutely.
Good evening, John Wicko, architect at 58 Prospect Street in Milford.
I designed the building for the site, and I can go over that. Professional office building, 22 plus size. It's designed for either multiple tenants or single tenant or the whole building. So there's flexibility to the building itself. Footprint wise, it has elevator that's capable for medical use, and required stairs and mechanical. And then the fit out work will come later once we know who's going into that. 2 floors, pretty much identical. Lobby up in the front section, which the elevation is probably a good place to talk about that. The entrance elevation depicts the canopy, which, and this fronts the parking lot. We designed the building with some architectural components being at the corners, because the site, circumvent the site, starting from the highway if you're coming from the south and going in, and as Mike described. So we have, the building has all fronts, so it looks good from everywhere. This is the front entrance with the canopy, the parking, and the corner tower, which houses the tenant signs. We designed it in a contemporary style with either, it's a panel system, all these lines indicate the panel sizes. It's either a limestone stucco or a architectural metal. We've been approved for both. This is the front of the road, new road elevation. Again, we got the tower, so you drive around, and then you get the ribbon windows that kind of carry you through. Stained or tinted glass. We're using the color scheme is rendered in gray. We have options for a tan and blue building, depends on who's going to be in the building itself. That's a general overview, all the particulars that everyone has talked about already, so we're not need to have to rehash that. And that concludes my quick and precise focusing presentation. And next time we will talk about the interpretation of this.
Is it just easier if I put my board up?
Sure.
Okay.
Do you have a colored rendering, John?
Yeah, that's enough to you.
Okay.
Probably a couple weeks ago. Good evening, John Cunningham from TEC Landscape Design, located at 62 Wall Street, Madison. Nothing, I mean, this is what both Mike Harkin, excuse me, and John Wicko have gone back over, new road here, okay? I think the colored version is a little bit easier because you can see what the different varieties of plant material and areas are gonna be. So moving in the main drive, the building, as Mike and John have shown, we are gonna have this outdoor seating area, along with a bike rack back on this side. One decided exactly, I kind of put an arc thing in, Mike had it a little bit different, but it is gonna be in this area of the building. I kept the landscape plan very simple. The list is down here. There are large shade trees. It's a tree that's over 50 feet tall. Okay, they're used along New Road. Okay, inside the parking lot, we move back into medium shade trees. And I spec'd out Acer campestri, which is hedge maple, or Zelkova serrata. I usually give myself 2 different options in case one tree is not available. It's on the board that the board can use it. These beds inside the parking area will have a low ground cover and shade trees in them. As Mike said, the photometrics plan is on staff. These are also going to have double-headed lights back in here to illuminate the parking area. The site itself is a wooded site right now with red cedar. Okay, you can see that all the red cedar really coming down. The area that's along New Road is really full of invasives. It's been cleared before, so it's not red cedar. It's all the different invasives that we really want to remove. Our game plan is to probably clear it to almost new road, okay? Down to this dark colored sign, or this dark colored ink down here, okay? If anyone knows New Road, if you're coming down New Road, there's a terrific red oak on the corner which we're leaving, okay? That's really the only real tree on the site that's really worth working back around. So this area, this dark brown area, is an area that we're not touching. That's staying as is, okay? This light green area, it's going to extend, this is where the guardrail ends right about now. This is going to be cleared and have the stumps removed, but it's going to be returned to a natural conservation mix, so it's not going to be maintained. It's going to be like a field, probably once a year, every 2 years. The invasives will come out of this area, but it's going to be left as a natural area. Okay? The lime green is going to be maintained lawn. So you can see that we come in, we have maintained lawn by the entranceway. I think it's going to look really nice that the maintained lawn is going to go up to New Road and then just gradually slope down to this new building that John's designed, okay? The dark green planting beds. So that's why I think that sometimes the colored renderings are a little bit easier to follow. Mike said there's going to be a large basin down here. I reintroduced, because I love red cedar, I reintroduced new red cedar, so it's softened from the parking area. One of the board members, I'm on ACA in the town of Madison, one of the board members asked if we could add some pollinators back down in this area. I think it's a really good idea, okay? We'll probably not do it in perennials. We'll probably do it in quote shrub material, dwarf clef or something else to help some of these plants. And those will be back down in this area also. Really a nice application. I think it's going to be a nice addition.
Having a little trouble comparing the architectural drawing with the landscaping. So are those trees there?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. That's a good question. The elevation would really show the building. John just added some trees to give some scale.
And then on the other panel that you have, you show mature trees kind of behind the building, I think, but
That might be, I mean, sometimes we go too far with, yeah, let's see. That's.
so that doesn't
we show
reflect
what-
the plan.
It does, but it's here.
Sort of looking
It's
over.
way up there, so it's like off property.
Okay,
We like to make it look pretty, so we take some liberties once in a while.
okay.
But yeah,
Just wanted to get
they're there.
fairly good to
And
meet
there's,
you.
and there's some vegetation, at the. just
Yeah,
right
yeah,
away.
yeah.
That's a really good question on all the professional levels. You would look at Mike Harkin's plan for engineering details, you would look at John's plan for the details of the building, and you look at my plan for really quote plantings. So these trees are going to go where they are. So this particular tree, not even is going to be in front of the building, but this is going to help soften the view from the road back down to the park.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else? Thank you.
I'll jump back in, real quick, just a couple items. Again, for the record, my name is Michael Harkin, professional engineer. I had mentioned when I was doing my, presentation about the dumpster enclosure, we do have an architectural dumpster enclosure, designed by Mr. Wicko. It's on his, architectural plan set SD1. So we do have that on there. Again, and that sign, we will be coming in for a separate sign application. I believe we had discussions with Aaron and Maria on that. This kind of just a general rendering of the sign that we had submitted to both ACA, just to get their customary approval before getting here. So we just wanted to make it a complete application. So additionally, again, we do have obviously architectural plans. We do have a civil package. We do have the landscaping plan. We have the photometrics. We have ACA approval. We have health department approval. We spent time with town staff working on this. We just didn't submit it. We met with Aaron. We met with Maria on it. We met with the town engineers on this. I believe the only thing that we have lacking is input from the drainage, which It was really a minor thing. In our opinion, we have enough area to make it larger. We would hope that the commission would take that into consideration. The commission has in the past made a condition of approval. We have no problem with making the engineering comments a condition of approval. You guys have done it in the past, and honestly, we can't go to the next step and get a building permit without getting those getting those drainage calcs in and getting signed off by engineering. So we're hoping that you look favorably upon this application. We get approval tonight so we can actually start moving on to the next step. My fear is that the town engineer is going away on vacation. He doesn't have a time to give us the information back for the next meeting. And then we don't have time to redo what he wants for the meeting after that. So now we're weeks and months out. We'd like to get the approval tonight for the simple fact that we can move forward with doing a little clearing on the site, because we have to get the geotech rigs in there to be able to drill down for the foundation design, so Mr. Wicko can do his final building plans. With that being said, as that goes on, we can address all the town engineer's comments, with regards to the drainage calcs, and then we'd be ready to submit for the building permit. Now, you have to realize that at the building permit, engineering gets to look at it again, health gets to look at it again, Aaron gets to look at it again, everybody has to look on it and sign off at that juncture. So, with that being said, thank you for your time. I'd like to turn it over to Marjorie, if she's got anything else.
I don't. We are curious as to the commission's disposition on what you prefer to do, given the information we've provided.
Nice. Yeah, we still have, there are a couple of things that are still outstanding that I would feel more comfortable making a decision in addition to the storm calculations that are pending. And I'm sorry that our town engineer went on vacation, but you're waiting also for the Connecticut water.
Connecticut water is not a requirement for your voting. The regulations require that Connecticut water be notified. And it is a matter of record that indeed Connecticut water has been notified. The correspondence is in the file. As Mr. Harkin said, in the event that they have comments, he will conform his design to their comments, as Mr. McAvoy did across the road when they asked for the hooded sumps and the additional details that they requested, which he incorporated and which Mr. Harkin has anticipated and incorporated in his design. So from a regulatory perspective, the requirement has been satisfied. I appreciate what the chair is saying, but just for the record, there's a distinction between their action and the requirements.
I had a couple of questions. The generator, backup generator, it's gas fed?
Yes, sir. I can show you. We went a little step further in our project plans. It's actually, we showed the gas feed and the electrical line back going into the building. Reason being is the gas and electric company have real strict requirements on separation distances. So our generator is here. It's being fed through the gas line that comes out of the building here, and then the electric line comes back and feeds the building.
Okay. And did you say it ties into the town sewer? It's not septic.
It is septic, yes, sir.
Oh, I didn't
And
read that.
and we do have full septic approval from the health department.
Okay, so it's full septic, okay. I may have this wrong, but I thought at one time in one meeting previously, but this might be the property to the north of you, that there was a neighbor was concerned about traffic headlights facing their homes across from.
It was from the residential side,
Across Duck Road.
north side.
Yeah, right with my hand.
Right.
And you had done something to readdress the traffic directions. You changed the intersection to move things more southward. Is that correct?
We were hoping to, yes, the traffic engineer study.
So you haven't done that yet, but that's your plan.
Yeah, it has to be looked into again, and that's kind of what Attorney Shansky had said going on. It's something that has to be worked with the town, with DOT.
All right, so that's still in the development process.
Yeah, they don't even, honestly, won't even look at this until it's an approved plan. because the DOT, it's really nothing, it's just floating there. Once it's approved at the town level, then they can meet with us and start the process.
The salient distinction, again, being that the development works, even though Mr. Sullivan made the observation of traffic improvements. If the state and the town don't coordinate and move that forward, that's it's within their jurisdiction to make that election. And from a conditioning perspective, it's not appropriate to condition an approval based on unknown actions of entities that are beyond our control. Which is why I keep saying, and I apologize for the redundancy, that the conclusions of a traffic report are that this development works as is.
That's as far as you have to go, I understand. that.
Correct.
But your intention was to improve that intersection.
Our intention was to be party to something that if others were advancing it. But it would not be appropriate for it to be an open-ended, 10 years from now, they finally get their act together. That's theirs.
Madam Chair, one question not related to traffic. It's septic question. Is this a public, state health approved system beyond local, or is it just a local?
No, so when we submitted it, Trent had said, or Amanda had said that it was going to go up to the state. It actually ended up, it's smaller flows that Trent approved it. Okay, so it's not.
Does not
have
to go
signed off. Correct. And that's one of the things that years ago when we met with Connecticut Water, and actually we went up to DEP with both the sites, because we were gonna do something else on the other sites. They had said, hey, try to keep the sewage levels as small as you can, which we did. So we kind of kept it out of the state's hands by doing this.
Nice. And is there a food service capability in the building? No.
No, I'm gonna turn that over to Kenny, Kenny or Matt, because we had discussed, what they were gonna do. I believe it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, just a cafeteria to sit. They're not gonna be preparing any food, is that a correct statement? They're going to be bringing and have a place to sit inside the building to eat their lunch or go out to their picnic area. Just to probably be like a break room where there's a coffee pot maybe, or a microwave to heat something up, or a refrigerator, but there's no food processing there.
Any other questions, thoughts? I still would rather,
I appreciate that, but it's really the one issue.
yeah, well, I think there are a couple of outstanding issues. And, I think we're learning that it's better to wait till we have all the information that we need, rather than go through what you've seen us going through earlier in the evening even. Not that they're the same, but
So you waiting for the 5, 10, 25, 50 year?
the storm calculations.
We'll wait for them to tell us what to design to, because your regulations don't tell us.
Yeah.
We designed to state standards, 10-year storm event. They had brought up, they select what they want on a case-by-case basis. How am I supposed to know that?
That's a
Yeah.
whole
Is
other
that the one
conversation.
holdup you have?
That and the Connecticut water response.
Again, the Connecticut water is beyond our control
I understand.
and beyond your regulatory
Right.
requirements. So it's appreciated, and heaven knows if we receive it, we'll share it in a timely fashion, but
And I don't mind that being a condition of approval. We've already added this stuff in. If you want to make that a condition of approval, with me and the town engineering comments as well. We have to meet that. We have to get to the next step.
Yeah.
And then they get to look at it all over again. Your one customary step, we get the information from them, we make those changes, we still have to submit for a building permit, engineering, zoning, everybody still looks at them again.
I can clarify that the engineering department will not be reviewing at the time of the building permit. This is the time that the engineering department is
and
reviewing
we
the application.
agree. They can finish their review, that's fine. The other thing, the Connecticut water is concerning only because we have no control of the bill, and it's beyond your requirement. But we'll do our best. He's spoken to, or in touch with Jessica at Connecticut Water, who was the author of the letter on the other side.
Right. She was. Yeah, she
I'll
actually,
try to chase it down.
I think she was on the Wetlands Commission.
Is there another thing, Madam Chair?
I'm just going through our list here.
That was the stormwater, compliance with the stormwater regulations and having conversations. I've had a conversation with Marjorie today as well, and the town engineer, an assistant town engineer, where they did indicate that they do want to review the stormwater calculations and the drainage plan, and be able to provide comments.
And now is the time to do that.
This is the time, at the time of site plan approval, yes.
Yeah.
To do that. So,
Michael, do you know when he's going on vacation?
I can be instead, but I think it's like, he's coming back next week, I think.
Rob Russo, the assistant town engineer, is away until next Wednesday. The town engineer is here. The
Okay.
next regular meeting of the commission for business is the July 18th meeting.
Not the 2-week one?
The 2 weeks would be July 4th, and the July 11th meeting is in the court's place, and that is our public hearing on the plan of conservation and development.
Well.
And so that is what
Thanks.
regular meeting business has been kicked to the 18th.
Yeah, we'll be happy to come back on the 18th. to
Okay,
wrap it
great.
up.
Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you
really
so much.
appreciate that.
I just need to, Aaron, are they gonna reach out to us, or should we be reaching out to them? We just wanna have ample time if you have something to adjust it prior to the 18th, because I don't wanna come back to you and say,
Yeah, exactly.
hey, they, it kind of leaves us hanging.
I would be on the phone with him tomorrow morning, like.
I agree.
I do, yeah.
Sure.
I'll just CC everybody and keep you on the phone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Everything looks great so far. We just need to wrap it up. Thank you.
Madam Chair, we would need to table.
Have a motion. Can I have a motion to table this application to the July 18th? In a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
All in favor.
Okay, so that's July 18th. Finish it.
Good night, thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay,
Wake up.
Sorry, Bob.
24-19, Clifton Coastal Site Plan, 26 Nathan's Lane.
Engineer.
That's a good point.
This is map 35, lot 28, zone transition T, owner Judith Pope, Family Trust, is that right?
Well, that is our next item on the agenda, and that public hearing is scheduled for July 18th meeting.
Okay,
So there's no discussion on that matter.
all right, so we're on to
Mr. Dome is here on the receipt.
23, this is 12 and 18 Beekman Place. Map 91, lots 17, 18, and 68-1, zone RU2. Owner applicant Susan B. and DeWitt P. Zeus III.
Yep.
And Stephen Perry lot line revision to modify common property line between lot 17 and lot 18. In addition to this conveyance, lot 17 will be combined lot 68-1.
Yes,
That makes sense to you.
yes, and shortly it will make sense to you too.
Thank you. Could you tell us your name?
Yes, I'm Bob Doan. I'm a professional engineer and licensed land surveyor. From my business, Doan Engineering. And this is essentially a surveying issue. And the only reason we are here is because we're combining a lot from the Swarthmore Hills,
Strathmore?
Strathmore
Strathmore.
Hills subdivision that created St. James Court. There was this parcel number 68-1 that is owned by Stephen Perry. He also owns lot 17 on map 91. And we are combining those two parcels. And we're removing on your plan and on this exhibit in green are the existing lines. We're taking away this line here, making Stephen Perry's lot actually conforming with zoning now. And we're conveying 6,000 plus square feet to the neighbor Zeus so that he can own his driveway.
So we could not, technically, we could not make the conveyance to Zeus prior to combining the two lots because we'd be making increasing a nonconformity for Mr. Perry. So we're merely doing, we're correcting two things. We're improving the Zeus lot size. We're not making it conforming, but it's improving it. And they own their driveway. And then we're making Stephen Perry's lot conforming because we're getting his lot size above 70,000. We are also accommodating Mr. Perry on the sale of his property. He is installing a new sanitary system. And the better test holes happen to be on lot 68-1. And so now that it's going to be one lot, there's no problem with having to do sanitary easements, etc. I did not do the sanitary design, but I do show the sanitary system done by Tony Urbino, was the design.
So this isn't total altruism, but it's close to it.
It's very close to it.
But it's a win-win-win.
It's a win-win situation,
I think
yes.
3 wins.
And we end up with two lots, one more conforming, one conforming. And that's it. This green line, this separate lot, and I'm not sure why that was made a lot from the subdivision because it never conformed.
It says not a
Yeah,
building
it
lot.
says
on the
not a
subdivision
building
map.
lot, but it's made a
bizarre.
separate lot, and
Mhm.
fortunately, Stephen Perry owns that. And he can combine them, put in a new sanitary system, and he has a contract to sell his house, actually. So it's a win-win-win. And, yeah.
Any questions?
No,
Seems pretty straightforward. Bob O'Connor, any questions from Zoom land?
You're muted.
I'm sorry, no. I have absolutely nothing to add, and for once, I therefore will not add something after saying I have nothing to add.
Okay, great. Sounds good. Then can I have a motion for approval? Second,
second.
discussion? You want to go, we should go ahead and read it?
There aren't any conditions in the draft resolution. It just has an effective date of July 4th and upon filing of the bylaw. So
Great, okay, so, voted that the Madison Planning Planning and Zoning Commission approve application 24-23, 12 and 18 Beekman Place, map 91, lot 17, 18, and 68-1, zone RU2, owners applicants Susan B. and DeWitt, Suze III, and Stephen Perry. Lot line revisions to modify common property line between lot 17 and lot 18. In addition to this conveyance, lot 17 will be combined with lot 68-1. Effective date of this approval shall be July 4th, 2024, upon filing signed Mylar on record. All in favor? Okay,
Okay, one quick question. For the Mylar, I do a signature block
for just the chair.
for just the chair,
Yes,
for just one.
yes.
Oh, okay, great.
small.
A small. Very good. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good to get this taken care of.
Oh, yes.
All right, approval of minutes.
Sure.
Shall we do so?
June 6, 2024, Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, members present, Downs, Reinhardt, Connor, Duza, Bugda, and Morgan. A motion to approve. Second. Any corrections, edits? I did not see any. There was one resident identified as Kim. But I don't think we know her full
Not
name.
call their last name.
But other than that, I didn't see anything else. Vote to approve. Approved it. One abstain.
Staying, so I wasn't there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great.
All right, remarks, nothing from me. Karen, do you have anything else to add?
No, I'll
Planning issues?
just to communicate, I'll be, going, sending emails so that we can post agendas for upcoming July meetings. Our dates are a little off and we're looking to schedule a special meeting as well for the Tremaine, so I'll try to get venue locations and things, but your next
Yes.
regularly scheduled
Yeah.
meeting is the Plan of Conservation and Development public hearing, which will be held at the Senior Center at 7 o'clock on Thursday, June 11th. So that legal notice went
Senior Center
out.
is on Bradley Road behind the Congregational Church.
Oh,
Yes.
It's air conditioned.
First floor or?
Yeah,
What's
first
that?
floor.
It's on the first floor?
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
A big open
Their
space.
cafe is the room.
And it's
Okay.
air conditioned.
Yes, it's a nice.
In fact, it's a
nice
cooling
venue.
center.
Oh, that's right, that's right,
It's on that
that's
list.
right.
All right, and in that case, any further comments or discussion? Could I have a motion to adjourn
Yes, ma'am.
for a second?
I'll second.
Discussion, in favor? We are adjourned at eight.
Oh, let's go.
Thank you.
Thank
Nice reading.
Thanks, Bob.
Still a little bit light out on this longest day of